as revolutionary by some and reckless by others. The tide is turning on a controversial energy project in the San Juan Islands.
Fox 13's Lauren Donovan investigates why critics say this source of green energy could do more harm than good.
Incompetent, outrageous. It blows my mind.
Conservationists contest. It's bigger than a basketball court, louder than a Seahawks game, and it could be headed for fragile marine habitat, home to endangered orcas.
It could definitely mask their search for food. This is a huge piece of equipment that is the size of a 747 jet.
Could this massive tidal turbine harm a vulnerable population already pushed to the brink?
This project, with it only powering 400 homes, to me is just another nail in the coffin for the southern resident killer whale population.
Or could this revolutionary technology, harnessing the tides, prove well worth the risk? The Orcas Island Power Cooperative, Opalco, thinks it is, if it promises an energy lifeline for remote San Juan Island communities.
Our problem is that we have these two cables that are providing power to San Juan County, and they're limited in how much they can do. Somewhere past 2030, we're going to have a real problem if we don't find local generation capability.
What's at stake is really rolling blackouts. When the power goes out from the mainland or goes out because we're in a storm, people could get harmed, people could die, and we take that extremely serious.
The question now is it worth the risk to the seabed, to marine life, just to power a sliver of homes?
400 homes in the Orcas Island community of Olga would be electrified by it.
But at what cost? It's not sustainable energy.
Still, as Brian Pelagi, an ocean engineer at the University of Washington, points out,
I mean, anytime you have a weak link in your system, it is a risk, right? Electrical demand has the potential to explode in the next, 10 to 15 years.
That reality is why he and his colleagues spend time here in the lab.
We do research on relatively small-scale turbines that are superficially similar to the Opalco turbine.
Telling me the forces within this test tank are nothing compared to the raging currents of the San Juans.
So if you've ever gone down to the shore and seen the tide come in or the tide go out, there's a lot of water that has to move in and out of Puget Sound every time you go through a tidal cycle. And that water all needs to move through relatively narrow channels.
Channels like the Rosario Strait, the waterway between Blakely and Cypress Islands, where Opalco wants to install the Tidal Titan. If you've ever traveled on a Washington State ferry to the San Juans, you probably passed it about 10 minutes after leaving Anacortes.
The easiest way to visualize it is an underwater wind turbine. So effectively, imagine what you see on land, put it underwater, it spins, it generates power.
Right now, there's one in the water off the Orkney Islands in Scotland. But what UK manufacturer Orbital Marine wants to build for Opalco is foreign to the Salish Sea. Engineers defend the sound the turbine produces is far less than one of our Washington State ferries.
I mean, compared to vessel traffic, this is not really even on the radar.
And that it certainly will not be churning passing sea life into chum.
Probably the conception we have underwater is a propeller, like when you start up a motorboat, and much, much lower rotation rates than that.
Telling me there's been no problems to date with the one already generating power off the coast of the United Kingdom.
I'd say the number one concern when you talk about turbines in the water is collision risk. Work to date has not observed any marine mammal collisions with turbines, either in Europe or the U.S.
Okay, so it's big and slow, but still, why is this the only green option on the table? Why not focus instead on other renewables like offshore wind or solar? The archipelago sits in the rain shadow, so plenty of sunshine. Is it because these panels look clunky? Would bulky infrastructure be better off hidden below the surface? Brian says aesthetics have nothing to do with it.
One of the distinctive features of tidal energy is its predictability, because the sun doesn't always shine, the winds don't always blow. Once you have a site well characterized, you can predict the currents quite accurately a decade or two out.
academics say the science supports it. Yet, skepticism remains. The Swinomish tribe accuses Opalco of withholding key details about this pilot energy project, saying the utility deferred any meaningful discussion of their concerns. In this sharply worded letter, the tribe says Opalco is rushing the process, cutting corners and ignoring the potential environmental impact, noting the project spanning several dozen acres sits in the heart of critical habitat for 4 endangered species. Their final concern, Opalco's request for a 10-year permit for what's billed as a trial project. The tribe calls that a, quote, significant amount of time to merely test a new technology. Sherry Tarantino, executive director of advocacy group Orca Conservancy, will echo that.
And then you're going to test it and tell me you're going to test it for 10 years? That to me sounds like Opalco's not being transparent, and they're trying to maintain and keep that thing in the water permanently. If green energy is such a great thing and this tidal energy is going to be green energy, talk. Answer the questions that people are asking.
Concerned residents of the San Juans confided in me that during public meetings, they felt their energy providers seemed disingenuous and hard to reach. I myself spent well over a month trying to get Opalco to answer questions on camera. But when they did, I was offered a meeting with both the CEO and board president.
Do you feel as though Opalco has been transparent?
Always. My goal has always been to be so transparent I become invisible.
Do you feel as though you have been transparent?
I think we're as transparent as we can be, and it's not enough. Every energy source has got its pros and cons behind it.
Opalco leadership points out we're still years away from ever seeing one in local waters. But if successful, there may not be just one. As many as 4 of these generators could dot the coastline. In fact, this could be the largest project of its kind in the entire United States.
This is incredibly clean. It's not going to produce any CO2 energy. Besides the negatives that people fear, there are a lot of positive aspects of this stuff that we have to consider.
Even still, conservationists will question, is it worth making local pods guinea pigs?
Why are we putting something in critical habitat of an endangered species with 72 in the current population we can't keep babies alive. Babies are dying within a month to 2 weeks. They're struggling. This population didn't ask to be an urban whale, and we've put them into the situation that they're in, and it's up to us to fix it.
Reporting in the San Juan Islands, Lauren Donovan, Fox 13 News.
Initial funding for this multi-million-dollar investment was secured through a United States Department of Energy grant, but that was promised back during the Biden administration.
We know June marks a key decision point for this project. This month, we'll learn if the turbine plan will move forward or get dashed.